in this video, I'd like to talk about the present moment and body scan. Body scan and the present moment work hand in hand because they're both looking at the here and the now and trying to separate our attention into segments rather than the whole. Rather than the whole of the world or the whole of my body, I want to look at a segment in my life, for example, what I can hear, or a segment in my sensations like feeling the tips of my fingers. So body scan looks like this, where if I can allow this to represent my physical body, body scan would go out and try and dissect this body in little sections where I can become aware of it as I'm going along. And what that generally means is I would be going out and doing a practice, an exercise, if you will, where I would close my eyes, and it can be done with my eyes opened, where I would notice, for example, the top of my head, the crown. And I would notice that, and then I would generally just slightly move down, maybe let's say to a band that runs around the top of my head. And then I would notice, become aware of my ears, and I can feel them at the moment. And then I would go out and notice my eyebrows and the muscles and the tension around there. Moving down again, I can start to feel my nose, and I can start to feel my cheeks. And I would cut down slowly, bit by bit by bit by bit. And so I would move from top to bottom, and I would just dissect the body part by part all the way down. And I would do that and take only notice of that part at a time. When I move from my ears and I go to my eyebrows, my ears are no longer in my attention. My awareness is now on my eyebrows. And certainly I'm not thinking about the crown of my head. I'm now looking at my eyebrows and not my ears and not the band and not the crown. So I'm actually moving systematically as I go through. So being in the present moment and dissecting our body in a body scan is very useful. Why would we look at body scan or the present moment or how would we look at it in a therapeutic context? Where I do this most often is with clients that are somewhat dissociating, or they are beginning to distance themselves. They're a little bit harder to engage. They're starting to somewhat, if I can say, it's the dissociation part, and that happens when there's trauma, or it happens when there's a high level of anxiety, or a really deep and heavy, let's say, depression. The depressive states, we tend to lose a lot of feeling. We start feeling very lethargic, and we start to separate ourselves. And this is why we don't have as much pleasure when we're in a depressed state. We can also dissect in this method where we go downways, and we would be doing this when we're looking at, let's say, for example, the arm. I might notice the tips of my fingers. I might notice one finger, then another, then another, then another, then my thumb. I would notice the palm. I would notice the forearm region. I would notice the upper arm, then the shoulder. So I'd be actually moving across this way. When we do body scan, where we generally go not necessarily from top to bottom or from left to right, I would go from top down to about my shoulders, and then I would go out from this shoulder and back, out from this shoulder and back, and then proceed downwards. We can do it upways as well. We can also do one leg at a time, then the other leg, and so we're allowed to do that. The whole point, though, is actually the present moment. It's not about just running this as an exercise. It's about making contact with our sensations, with the here and the now. So I have a client that is highly dissociative in regards to there's an awful lot of childhood trauma, some sexual abuse, and this person is quite distanced, they're quite dissociated in our sessions. And so a number of times in session, we would go out and do a very small body scan. I wouldn't do the whole body. We have certainly done that at times, but I would just go out and capture one part of the body. So an example might be, we would just do her arm, or we would just do her leg, or just her head. And what we've been able to do is we're actually trying to make contact with the present moment in a different way to avoiding discomfort, because dissociation is about trying to avoid, trying to get away from feelings, and we're actually trying to bring feelings in. And we're doing it very, very, very slowly, and just by placing a little bit of awareness. What's interesting in this case is that this person was self-harming quite considerably, and as we did more and more present moment work, they were harming less and less often, until they were able, in actual fact, to do some of this type of present moment work, not just body scan, but some others as well, in terms of noticing what they can hear, see, smell, taste, and touch. But this was the primary work that we did. Very powerful with dissociation, very powerful with trauma type work. But we've got to be slow. We've got to be very compassionate, gentle, and thoughtful about how we apply this, because trauma brings along so much arousal and distress and emotion. Please be gentle and be thoughtful around things like body scan, particularly when there is sexual abuse that may have occurred, because there are some areas that can bring about a lot of emotion when we go out and we start to scan that area. So be thoughtful, be mindful of that, and you can work on it in that sense. A final quick note, I've also done this with pain management, and going out and being able to do scanning of particular areas of the body that pain is experienced, particularly the back. I find that when we move away from the back and we start looking at the arm or the leg or the head, we're able to shift our mind and be present about other areas of our life, not just our back. That's giving us an awful lot of pain. And so it's very useful as well to use with pain management. Hope that's been helpful. Do try it with yourself. If you can apply it with yourself and use it with yourself, you'll certainly be able to introduce your clients to that. A little tip before we finish up is it's really nice, it's really effective to draw up something like this with your clients, so you can show them what you're going to be doing, so they can understand we're just going out and we're cutting out segments of your life or of your sensation, and that we can then start to use in terms of a discussion about how can we get mindful and just cut out that segment of, let's say, gratefulness that we might be able to expand and spend a bit more time on, or cut out that segment of compassion, or cut out that segment of being thoughtful, or another segment of giving and contribution. Lots of different things that we can go out and start from this scanning and this present moment exercise. So I encourage you to be a bit free and think of your own ideas as how you can go out and start to apply that a little bit further. See you next time.